What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And today we're talking about another potential prospect that the Giants could add with the number 6 overall pick in the draft. Not talking about a quarterback just yet. Believe me, guys, we're going to get into the conversations, going to get into the film on these top quarterbacks. But we want to talk about another one of these top playmaking prospects that the Giants could potentially take at number 6 if they aren't able to land their quarterback. And today we're talking about Georgia tight end Brock Bowers, a player who Pro Football Focus described as the greatest college football tight end ever. If you look at his stats, if you look at his film, his highlights, his lowlights, whatever, he's exceptional. He is an incredible prospect who should be a top 10 pick in this draft class. Now, we'll have a conversation on whether or not he should be a top 10 pick for the Giants, whether or not his position and the value at that position is worth taking in the top 10. Being a tight end, you don't see those guys go in the top 10 very often. Same thing is kind of like a running back. But every now and then, there's a player who is just so freaking good at that position. They go really early in the draft. This year, that could be Brock Bowers at tight end going inside of the top 10 picks in this draft. So we're going to go ahead and kind of have a discussion on him and then break down the film and show you guys why he's so special and why if the Giants don't end up getting their quarterback at number 6, Brock Bowers should be one of their priority targets with that draft pick. But before we dive into all that, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Comment your thoughts on the topics down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? And before we dive into this film, I want to have a discussion on Brock Bowers, hear some of your thoughts on him. I know that you've given your thoughts quite a bit on the channel recently, but what's gotten you so warmed up to Brock Bowers? Why are you getting excited by the idea of the Giants maybe taking him at number 6?
Yeah, I mean, guys, I spoke about Brock Bowers very briefly yesterday, and I see a lot of people in the comments, even on social media, were asking the question, would you take Brock Bowers at 6? And I'm really surprised at how many people are saying hell no. They'd be really upset, really pissed off. And we're going to show you why Brock Bowers, and I know a lot of people will say, well, he's a tight end. You don't take tight ends in the top 10. This is not a tight end, my friends. This is an elite receiver. This is an elite receiver with rushing yards from the tight end position. He can outrun defensive backs. You can't tackle him in the open field as a defensive back. He breaks these tackles. He's strong. He's 6'4", 260 pounds, 230 pounds, something like that. The dude is an absolute tank of a human being, and he runs routes like a receiver. And he has some of the best hands in the draft class. There's a reason he's considered one of the best tight ends in the history of college football. Like, imagine being able to draft like Travis Kelce's receiving abilities on day one. Would you spend it first? Would you spend a 6th overall pick on Travis Kelce's receiving abilities? Probably. You can make the argument. And of course, Travis Kelce is a multi-Super Bowl winning tight end, probably the best tight end in the history of the sport. But I'll make the hot take and say that Brock Bowers may actually have better tangible receiving qualities than Travis Kelce. However, Travis Kelce, his IQ, his football IQ, his chemistry with Patrick Mahomes makes him that much better. It makes that's what takes him to that tier 1. It's not just his athletic nature, but also his chemistry and his IQ and understanding of the game. Brock Bowers, this is a guy that you're going to see is a special talent, my friends. A lot of people will point to Kyle Pitts and say, well, Kyle Pitts wasn't worth it. Guys, Atlanta's offense is dog water. If you go watch Atlanta's offense, they can't throw the ball. They have failed to maximize Kyle Pitts to a degree that is almost unfathomable. He is still a tremendous talent. In the right system, the right scheme, he would be a monster. And I think that's objectively true. I think you'd probably agree with that. Unfortunately, they just don't have a great passing game. They more so run their offense through the ground game. But looking at, the future of the Giants, if Saquon leaves, you need a really good passing attack. Brock Bowers, and look, if you're going to stick with Daniel Jones, and this is kind of my take on all people will say, why would you take a tight end? Like, we need a quarterback or we need offensive line. Like, I get those things. But if the Giants are going to stick with Daniel Jones, I would bet my money that he is much better off having a superstar tight end than a top wide receiver 1. I just think Daniel Jones is better in terms of throwing the ball to tight ends than he is to wide receivers. If Darren Waller and him stayed healthy last year, I think that connection probably would have been the most lucrative of Jones's career. I think that he probably would have been able to hook up with him a lot. They would have schemed him open. Brock Bowers is not only faster than Darren Waller, but he's way younger, 21 years old, and he has better hands. And he's probably a better route runner than Darren Waller too. And he's gonna. And Anthony, you texted me this earlier. Brock Bowers is going to step into the NFL and be one of the top 3 receiving tight end of the game, or top 5 receiving tight end of the game. That's how talented this guy is. Don't think so much about the positional value here. A lot of people say, well, we took a running back at 2. Look what happened. This is not just a traditional tight end, my friends. This is a ridiculously talented elite flexible receiver who can also do his due diligence in the blocking game. But the mismatches you can expose with a player of this magnitude, if you're putting a safety on him, if you're putting a linebacker on him, even a slot cornerback, they can't cover him. He's too big. He's too strong. If you get the ball to him into open space, you're going to see some plays from this dude in open space on screen passes that make your eyes go, what the hell did I just watch? He moves like Malik Neighbors in the open field. He doesn't have that type of speed, but he has the agility of some receivers. And you're like, whoa, like a guy of that size moving like that. You don't see this very often. He's a freak athlete and he's a great mentality, dude. Like he has ridiculous amount of effort every single play. Look, as a fit for the Giants, we have a lot of needs, so I get why we wouldn't go for Brock Bowers, but I sure as hell would not be upset if we got him. This dude is going to be a really great NFL player, and if a team builds an offense that maximizes his skill set, he's going to be a really great NFL player for a very long time.
100% agree. Now let's go ahead and just break down this film and show you guys why he's going to be such a great player, why we're so high on him. And it's going to be easy to see. One of the things that I will mention before we even dive into it is his yards after the catch ability. You're going to see that this is rare. Tight ends don't usually catch the ball, get into open space, and add this many yards after the catch. But you're going to see that from Brock Bowers. So let's start out with this first play. Inline tight end circled on the screen there. Let's play it through and see what happens. Just a nice little route up the seam. And again, here you're seeing all of that burst after the catch and ability to gain additional yardage is really impressive. It's a good throw here by Carson Beck, Georgia quarterback. But then just the way that Brock Bowers moves is different. You don't see tight ends turn upfield and haul ass like that very often after the catch. And I think that's one of the things that's really going to stand out on this film, Alex.
It is, and just also watch his route running from the tight end perspective. Like I like this angle, the flat, like the all-22 angle or the flat angle, just looking at how skinny he gets. Just watch like number 13 is trying to check him and he completely evades that contact, gets skinny right there. And look how quickly he just can change his direction, gets parallel with the field and then cuts up and his burst is legit. This is a safety back here. This is a defensive back. Look at the speed from this dude who's 230 plus pounds. Look, he's like pulling away from him. And this is a defensive back, man. This is a massive human being moving at that speed with that type of strength. Again, you can scheme him open. You get him open in the open field. He's not just going to outrun DBs. He's going to break tackles. And like, guys, he has almost 200 rushing yards in his collegiate career and 5 rushing touchdowns. The ways that the Giants could use a player like this, just you can't find a more flexible and versatile talent from the tight end position. He can run the football. Like think about, your first and goal, dude, I'm putting freaking Brock Bowers at running back and asking him to churn through for a touchdown. I'm willing to bet that at the NFL level, if you're a team that doesn't have a big, heavy back, Brock Bowers is going to score a couple rushing touchdowns on the goal line. He's that big, that fast, that powerful. He's basically a cheat code at the goal line if you're a team that's looking to improve your red zone capabilities.
Yeah, and just to add some stats to kind of our conversation here, he averaged 8.7 yards after catch per reception in 2023. That is absurd, guys. Like, I don't know how to put that into perspective, but almost 9 yards after the catch per reception as a tight end. Yeah, that's pretty insane. And one last thing that I want to point out on this clip, because you mentioned this angle, you could see some new things. This ref almost got absolutely drilled. And I'm just going to point that out to say this is a concentration catch for Brock Bowers. You're going to see other plays on his film where he makes concentration catches. Having to look through the ref almost getting his head decapitated, another plus on that play that you could draw from. So here you are again, Brock Bowers in line as the tight end. Let's see what they do. And I'm pointing out that he's in line here because you're frequently going to see him line up in the slots and sometimes even out wide. But here from the inline position, still able to get upfield here, one-on-one in man coverage with a linebacker and just take him out. Just easy, quick out. I love the hesitation at the stem, at the top of the route, and then he breaks it so nicely. I like this angle a lot. You can really see here the way that he's able to kind of leave that linebacker in the dust. The linebacker looks like he was maybe staring into the backfield a little too hard, trying to read the quarterback. Brock Bowers takes advantage, gives him a nice hesitation move, and then just bursts out of the break for a nice catch. And I like the nasty finish at the end, putting his head down and barreling into a couple guys.
Yep, this is what he does, man. The guy's 125% effort. And I love this little route here because you can see from the broadcast angle, when I get to it right in a second, you see that he cuts inside briefly to catch that linebacker off guard. You can see like at first the linebacker's trying to figure out, okay, which direction he's going. Like you said, has his eyes in the backfield. But I love he starts to cut up field here right towards the linebacker. So he assumes he's probably going towards the middle, gives him a little shimmy, bam, 3 yards of separation. There's nobody. You can't guard him. If you're a linebacker, you just simply can't guard him. And if you do throw it to him, he has ridiculous hands. And this ball seems to be a little bit behind him anyway. And if he that's a behind him, that pass is objectively behind him. If you hit him in stride here, he might get to the edge, and he has blockers out in front. He has a blocker right here. He might actually outrun that guy to the boundary. So it's like, it's ridiculous. And then you see the power. He just manages to bulldoze a couple guys and fall forward for a first down. That's by the way, that's like a trait that I love about players, especially guys like Brock Bowers, the ability to fall forward. You guys ever play Madden and you have like Derrick Henry and the guy always manages to fall like 5 yards forward? You're like, what the hell? This is the type of guy that's going to fall 5 yards forward every single time he gets the ball. Yards after the catch adds on to it. And if you need a first down, it's 3rd and 12, and he falls forward 3 yards, which he does every single time. He's gonna be a third down merchant, guys. Like this is, you know what I mean? This is a player that can do a lot of things for you in a lot of different unique scenarios. And he always manages to produce something positive.
Absolutely true. Now, this next play I'm excited to take a look at. This is just I'm better than you. That's pretty much what Brock Bowers is saying on this play. Sick one-handed catch. Again, up the seam. One thing that I'll mention here, this is probably not a throw that should have been made by Carson Beck, but he knows that he can make it because he's throwing it to Brock Bowers, who can come down with it, even though he's in the middle of two safeties. But look at that full extension with his right hand, just absolutely sticks it to his glove and hauls it in. Another thing that I want to point out, though, once again, in line. So I think that's been a little bit of a criticism for Brock Bowers, is that some fans or kind of analysts, people on Twitter will say like he plays a lot more slot than he should. He's not really a full inline tight end. A lot of the clips that we're watching right now, he is playing with his hand in the dirt as an inline tight end. So that's one takeaway from this play. But I like his patience here. He kind of clears that linebacker, realizes that he's in open space, but also knows that there's safeties up top. So he kind of slows down and just runs with some real patience there to make sure that his quarterback has an opportunity to fit a ball in there. And then again, just a ridiculous catch. So you're seeing good IQ here, seeing spectacular catchability. You're seeing a truly special player.
I mean, dude, how many tight ends do you see make one-handed catches like this in the middle of the field with the safety coming right at their face? You know what I mean? This dude is absolutely fearless. That type of mentality. But, obviously, like, we'll point out the cons. This definitely already seems, if you're watching this video, you're probably like, damn, this guy's pretty special. And he is. Like, this is, what like we said earlier, one of the best tight ends in college football history. Some would argue he is the best tight end in college football history. And his stuff translates. And keep in mind, Anthony, what I love the most about Brock Bowers may not even be what he's already done, but the fact he's 21 years old, and has this type of talent. We're talking about a decade. Like Travis Kelce's 32? We're talking about a decade of elite performance from your tight end position. That's what Brock Bowers is capable of doing for you. And especially as he gets better with age. So it's like, and maybe even puts on a little bit more size. Who knows? And he gets a little bit better at blocking. He's a little undersized for a tight end. That's why he's not considered like the best blocker in the world. But because he gives so much effort, he kind of can quell some of those concerns at times. That catch is ridiculous, man. I mean, that's like prime OBJ catch over the middle, taking a hit right after it. Like, from a tight end, it's ridiculous. You don't stumble across talents like this very often. Look, like I know we've talked about Malik Neighbors. It's, Brock Bowers today. We're going to keep going. We're going to do Romo Dunze. Maybe tomorrow. Keep in mind, like these prospects are truly special. They all have their pros and cons, and you're seeing Brock Bowers. This is no ordinary tight end. This is a WR1 type of player.
Yeah, and if you do want to talk about some of those cons for Brock Bowers, I think you touched on them well. I mean, he is kind of a little bit skinnier than I would say. He's not skinny by any means, but you could see him putting on some more muscle mass to his frame and having a much better size profile for the NFL if he were to do so. I think that there is definitely some size to be added. Another thing, I think he's a little bit of an inconsistent blocker. I didn't throw any blocking clips onto this film, but I've watched a fair amount of his all 22. I've seen some plays where he absolutely barrels through people, plants them in the dirt, pancake style, like he's at IHOP. And then I've seen other plays where he completely whiffs and surrenders a tackle for loss or a tackle for no gain at the line of scrimmage. So that's the one thing that I think he needs to improve, and why, when fans are kind of looking at Brock Bowers saying he's going to step into the NFL and be a great receiving tight end immediately, I don't know if his ceiling is going to reach that Travis Kelce, George Kittle level, though, until he's able to plant defensive ends into the ground consistently like those guys can, or at least Kittle can. Kittle is just elite because he's such a great blocker. It's like having another offensive lineman out there. I don't think you're getting that with Brock Bowers. Sure, it could be something he develops and turns into a guy who kind of acts like an extra offensive lineman out there, but he's definitely not that yet. And that's going to be a knock on him and why you'll see him line up in the slot so much and not always in line as a tight end. But here you go. Here's a play where he is in the slot against Alabama, SEC championship game. Let's see how this goes. Again, another route over the middle of the field. That's where he makes his living. He is very much a over the middle field target. Yeah, it's a great catch there. I love how he catches the ball so far away from his body, full extension, just with his hands, no body catching on his film ever. He's just got really great, safe, reliable hands. Again, over the middle of the field, this is the exact kind of target that you want, big frame, and the ability to run routes like this. I mean, this is a good route. Little hesitation and a skinny post right there. Breaks open with a little bit of separation. It's a good throw to get it in between a safety, and then a great catch while falling to the ground. Really, really spectacular play.
Yeah, so I'll throw out something, Anthony, you'll probably find interesting. When it comes to Daniel Jones, if they are going to stick with him, his best portion of the field to throw to is the middle. So if you want a player like Brock Bowers who's going to dominate the middle of the field, Daniel Jones is going to maximize that, right? Like players that attack the middle of the field, he tends to prefer. He can throw to the boundary, but it's been inconsistent to say the least. And this is just a little bit of a kind of connection there. I mean, this just think about how fearless you have to be, knowing that there's another DB over there, like, and he knows he's coming at him. He's going to have to take a hit. These are plays, by the way, that like if you're a receiver, if you're a tight end, you're going across the middle, you're probably getting hit at the point of attack right there. You're probably getting hit at the apex of this play. And Brock Bowers is fearless, man. Like that mentality, he just goes up there and he snags that pass, and it's a great route too. Like just think about how fast he is for that size. It's truly impressive to me. I mean, it's a good pass too, right where it needs to be, right in the pocket, right there, and he immediately goes down and avoids. Like he also protects his body. You know what I mean? Like he slides down right there, gets to the ground, doesn't take a big hit, doesn't risk himself. Just a smart player. So I kind of feel like, he's able to understand in real time and live action when things are happening, what to do to protect himself, but also where he needs to be and where that timing is with his quarterback, really essential for throws like this. And I think that he's able to develop that chemistry. So whoever plays quarterback for the Giants in the future certainly will love to have him as an asset.
100%. I mean, just having somebody over the middle of the field like that that's so reliable is huge. But here you go, another play. I'm going to rewind this before the play even fully develops because I want to point out that he's being used again as a slot receiver here, but in motion. You don't really see tight ends often brought in motion to run wheel routes up the sideline like this on a fake screen. With Brock Bowers, you can do that. You can do whatever you want with Brock Bowers because he's so good, and he'll catch it and he'll barrel through 5 defenders and add all those extra yards after the catch. So we pointed out, a lot of clips where he was in line. We pointed out clips where he's receiving over the middle of the field. And then again, here's one of him getting vertical up the sideline. So that's really the point that I've been trying to make about Brock Bowers in our recent discussions, Alex. This guy is in all 3 levels of the field, short, intermediate, deep. All 3 levels of the field, he's a great receiver, and all categories of the field, whether you're talking middle of the field, left side, right side, anywhere on the field, this guy is a threat to make a big play or at least make a reliable play. It doesn't have to be a big play. It can just be a simple rudimentary play that he's going to bring in every single time. But here you go. Nice catch up the sideline, and then boom, just breaks through people. Guy on his back for 7 yards there, and he can't even bring him down. The guy just plays with a rare blend of size, speed, and power that you love to see from a tight end.
I mean, guys, it's ridiculous. Like what I like about this route though that he runs is he gets open right here, right? And look, he sees where he's looking where the DBs are, and he immediately knows this is my window, right? This is my pocket. Turns his heads around, knows he has space, knows he has time. Concentration catch, brings it in. Turns up, like, he should be like right here. Realistically, he should be tackled here. Like a good DB tackles him here, but instead he manages to cut upfield, and you cannot arm tackle Brock Bowers, my friend. You cannot arm tackle. He's dragging number 13, whoever the hell that was, behind him. And I mean, look how far he ends up. Like right here should be a tackle, right? He should be down about the 40-yard line. ends up at the 45, right? That's what I'm saying, though, in terms of before when I said that he always falls forward. 40 to 45, football's a game of inches. You've heard that quote 100 million times. He doesn't pick up inches extra. He picks up yards extra. And that makes a huge difference in the longevity of a game, in how a game plays out, whether you're in field goal range at the end of a game in the fourth quarter to tie a game. That extra couple of yards, it's a first down. It's another opportunity. It is a field goal. It is a touchdown. Who knows? It could be anything. But those little extra yards, they add up over time, and they're the difference between winning and losing games. And ultimately, Brock Bowers has that special elite trait to always fall forward and drag defenders for extra yards.
100%. Totally true. I just love his ability after the catch. Here he is once again in motion, gets in line. And now again, you're seeing some more yards after the catch. I've never seen a tight end juke like that before in my life. I've literally never seen a player at that position make a move like that. He's just truly special.
It's ridiculous, dude. How do you do this at this size? I mean, that looks like Marshawn Lynch when he did that little head fake. Remember back in the day when he put his leg on the ground and then he just freaking like turned directions, and that's what that looked like. I mean, how do you tackle? It's ridiculous, man. Not only is he going to drag defenders multiple yards, but to have that type of reactionary speed and the ability to slip out of that tackle. I mean, think about it. That play should be dead right there at the 50-yard line. Instead, let's see where he ends up. He ends up after around the 46. That's an extra 6 yards he gains. He turns negatives into positives. That should be a negative yardage play. Turns it into 6 yards and could have been second and 4, or maybe even a first down, depending on, how close they were. So it's rare. You're looking at rare talent right here.
Without a doubt. More clips from this Auburn game. You watch this Auburn game. If you guys want to watch any game that's going to make you fall in love with Brock Bowers, I texted this to Alex earlier today. It's this Auburn game from the 2023 season. If you're watching the All-22, that's awesome because you're really going to see it. But even if you want to just watch the highlights or, the broadcast footage, you're going to see this guy absolutely dominate all three levels of the field, like I said. And even as a blocker, I thought this was one of his best games as a blocker. He was spectacular against Auburn. I think he went for over 127 yards or something like that, and a whole bunch of receptions. But here's another big clip, running this dig route, catches it, and again, yards after the catch, turns it into a touchdown. This should have been a 20-yard gain. He turns it into a 45-yard gain and a touchdown. So love the route, love the way that he comes out of that break and just catches that thing in stride and turns right upfield. Look at his hips, when he sinks there at the top of this route, the way that he sinks and he just flies out of that break. And again, makes another great catch where the referee was almost decapitated by the football. But spectacular stuff here. And just look at the finish. There's 3 tackles broken. And then the third guy or the fourth guy just can't even catch up with him because he's so damn fast.
It's almost like they use the refs to their advantage. They're like, you should be catching this ball right in front of the ref every time. Like, that's where this route is supposed to end. It's kind of funny because like we keep seeing them kind of like Carson Beck is literally throwing it at the ref. So it's kind of funny that they maybe use him as like a indication of where you need to be. But like, again, like you said, look at the strides here. Like right here, this DB has the angle on Brock Bowers. But there's no way. Stiff arm right here. Look at this. You can't bring him down. Stiff arm right there, gets out of it. Another tackle attempt, runs right through it. Doesn't even go off balance. He runs straight through it. And look at the strides here. Look at the pull away speed. Dude, I mean, from a 6'4", 230-pound, 21-year-old, you're not going to find much better than that, man. Like, in terms of mismatches, he's a godsend, Like, you could argue if you're the Giants, right? You cut Darren Waller, save nearly $7 million, right? And then long-term, you're saving over 10 million, 14, 15, 17 million based on his contract cap hits over the next 3 years. You save that money, you sign a WR1, you draft Brock Bowers, your offense has the playmakers to be very good. You know what I mean? Like that's the argument I would make. Your offense has very good playmakers. You just need to figure out the quarterback position. Obviously, offensive lines very much a priority, but we'll see how the development goes this year with Pachillo as the new offensive line coach. But this offense has a bright future in terms of talent if they make the right choices. I'll obviously, as you guys probably think, and I do too, who the hell's playing quarterback?
Yes, that's a big question that the Giants do need to answer. We got somewhat of an update on that today, though. I think that's something that we can just mention here, Alex, before we dive into this next play and kind of just talk about briefly. I think it was Paul Schwartz of the New York Post put out a report today saying that the New York Giants are very likely. I think he said that they are going to sign a backup quarterback that's more than just a career backup. So somebody who can start because they are concerned about Daniel Jones's medical history. And he reported that the Giants are considering all of their options in the draft, including drafting a quarterback at the top. So part of it is the fact that, Daniel Jones wasn't so great last season, but the point that Paul Schwartz was really making is that the Giants are internally worried about Daniel Jones's medical history, the neck injuries, now the knee injury. I think he had concussions a few years ago, ankles. I mean, he's been banged up a lot throughout his career. So even if you are a Daniel Jones believer, and like I said in yesterday's episode, it's totally possible that Daniel Jones has a bounce back, comeback player of the year campaign next year. Totally possible. But the Giants are also recognizing, like the fans are, that medical history is super concerning for Jones. So they are doing their due diligence, and they should be making at least some sort of splash move in free agency or the draft to target that quarterback this upcoming offseason. But let's go ahead and look at this next play. Once again, Bowers in the slot. And I loved this play because I mentioned at the beginning of the episode concentration catches. Here you just have a route right up the seam, back shoulder. First of all, I got to say, spectacular throw. That's the only place where the playmaker could have made a play on this ball. It's a great throw, back shoulder. It's a ballsy throw, but it's a throw that you can make when you know that you're throwing to Brock Bowers. You don't throw this ball to any tight end. You throw this ball to the best tight end in college football when you know that he's just going to turn around, back shoulder fade, haul it in. I think he brings us in with one hand as well. Yeah, he does. It's just one hand. The concentration is absurd. There's not much more you could say other than just, oogle and google at this thing because it's just one hell of a play after another with Brock Bowers.
A one-handed back shoulder across the middle it should be illegal. That's how hard that is. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? Even when he's covered up, like he's blanket coverage right now. You can't stop him. I mean, it's a great throw. I wonder if it was meant to be behind her, if it was meant to be upfield. But either way, to be able to see this, I mean, if you're a receiver, right, and you're looking behind you, and there's a defender in your face, think about like his line of vision is cut off here. And he still manages to identify where the ball is, turn around, and then snag it with one hand, right? It's impressive, to say the least.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, you could see there that if he didn't make a catch, there was a safety who was barreling down on that ball. That could have been an interception, but instead Brock Bowers turns it into a huge gain downfield. And again, making a throw and a catch like that over the middle of the field, very rarely do you see that happen. So here we're finally going to see Brock Bowers get into the end zone. We didn't put a whole lot of his touchdowns on the film, but thought it was important to at least show the guy's a red zone threat. And on this play, you're going to see him in particular attack one-on-one man coverage and just win and get open just because he's a great route runner and has excellent twitch and excellent burst. So lining him up in the slot, this is one of the things that I love about him. I know that some consider it a drawback that he plays too much in the slot, maybe isn't powerful enough to be an inline tight end. I think we've shown that he's a great threat at the inline tight end position, and he's an excellent threat as a slot receiver. So I know we made that comparison last offseason, Alex, about Darren Waller and how he could kind of move all around the offense and be a WR1 or at least give you WR1 production. You could argue that Brock Bowers can do the exact same thing. And since he's never really had career injuries to the same extent as Darren Waller, he could probably do it at a much higher rate and much more prolific ability, even early in his career. But right here, again, one-on-one, it's actually really bad coverage from this linebacker. He's so flat-footed and so lazy here. But even still, Bowers just runs up this route stem, and attacks his outside shoulder and just bursts right by him. It's a good throw again. But I just love Bowers' ability. We've shown playmaking ability at all three levels. Now here you see it in the red zone, one-on-one route running. You can't even touch him. Look, the guy tries to get his hand on him. You can't do it. Can't get your hand on him. Can't stop him. Brock Bowers is going to burst around you and get a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the worst coverage I've ever seen. The guy literally doesn't move until he's breaking into his the apex of the route here. But I also love how he gives his quarterback room to throw. You know, he could just go straight upfield. Instead, he rounds out the route to give him a better throwing lane for Carson Beck, and easy touchdown right there. High points it, easy. Like, if you're a red zone team that needs red zone support, this dude against linebackers is going to wreak havoc on opposing teams with poor linebackers in coverage. Like, you can scheme this guy open. And by the way, at the beginning of this play, you'll probably see right here, they had him out split out wide and they moved him inside to get that mismatch. you can move him around, put him in motion, do all these types of things, utilize those mismatches. That's what an elite receiving talent at tight end does for you. It puts you in a position where you can move this guy inside, attack that linebacker, and maximize that skill set. It's truly unique. So obviously, maybe not your preference for the Giants, but it's undeniably true that this dude is super talented.
100%. One of the most talented players in this draft class. Wherever he goes, I have no doubt he's going to be a star. And on this next play again against Alabama, in line, quick flat route, and just watch him take off. Once again, seeing the yards after the catch ability here. Obviously, he had a lot of space around him. There was really nobody in the area, but still, how quickly he made up that ground and flew through that open area is just super impressive. I mean, you could see that safety who has the angle on him have to change his angle, has to change his tackling angle, not get on top of him, but now chasing almost laterally or from behind because of how quickly Brock Bowers was moving upfield. This guy is a really versatile weapon. Not only is a great route runner, great hands, great concentration, catches all the stuff that we mentioned, body control, everything, but just look at how much athleticism oozes from Brock Bowers.
It is very unique. I mean, like you said, I like the point you made to see that safety change his angle because he realizes, oh crap, that guy's a lot faster than I thought he was, and then he basically just has to throw his body in the way. I mean, look at this. He has to change his angle so much. He's going downhill. He has to go back upfield because he now realizes that I'm not going to be able to catch him. Look at him. He's running upfield. That's ridiculous. He's a freaking tight end. And then he just throws his body in the way and gets absolutely bulldozed. Like, imagine being that safety. And this is Alabama's defense, by the way. No easy feat. And this dude realizes I'm not gonna be able to catch him. I'm just gonna have to throw my body and get trucked right now. Like, he's a punishing player. He makes you feel your mistakes. And if you're a safety and a DB taking hits from a 230-pound, 6'4" guy, it's not gonna feel good getting up from this.
And that's 100% right. Doesn't feel good when Brock Bowers runs into you. He runs into you like a freight train. I love the physicality that he finishes plays with. He gets the ball in his hands. He does juke, and he does have a crazy amount of agility for his position. But then when he's really running downfield and he's got one man to beat, a lot of the times he just puts his shoulder down, barrels through him, makes you feel it, makes sure that you don't want to tackle him on that next attempt that you have to do so. So I love watching Brock Bowers play. I really think he's a special player. But before we wrap this up, Alex, let's round it out and say, should the Giants take him at number 6? You know, after taking a look at this film, watching what he can do for a team, seeing how Georgia utilized him, how he maximized the way that they were utilizing him, like playing in his role, and really just the overall talent and skills that he possesses. How do you feel about Brock Bowers potentially being the number 6 overall pick in the draft?
I think I would be equally as excited to get Brock Bowers as I would have been Malik Neighbors or Romo Dunze or, any of those receiving talents. I think I'd be equally as like, this dude is a elite player with elite level prospect rather, with the upside to be a tremendous NFL talent. And at the same time, Anthony, I'll throw this out there. You could say that by drafting Brock Bowers, the $7 million you would inevitably save by cutting Darren Waller, you could flip that into a guy like Jermaine Illuminor. So like, you're not just drafting Brock Bowers, you're also able to spend the money on a Jermaine Illuminor for, the 2024 season. So you could kind of use that logic as well. Now they could cut Waller anyway and, draft Malik Neighbors and feel like they don't need Waller and spend that money. So, you could use it for any of those receiving talents, but obviously a position for position swap would indicate they would do that. But I'd be excited, man. This is a guy that's going to create mismatches. He's a tough player. He falls forward. He has a lot more room to grow. As a 21-year-old at his size, really smart guy, proven winner. And he wants to go somewhere that I know he said he'd love to go to Tennessee or whatever, but I don't think he's going to have a problem kicking ass wherever he lands. And if he lands with the Giants, you guys will see pretty quickly how special of a talent he is. If you haven't already seen what he's capable of in the film.
Yeah, I mean, his talent really stands out when you watch him, whether you're watching film highlights, you're just watching Georgia play. Brock Bowers finds a way to stand out and make you go, wow, who is that? That's a good player. He's going to be great at the next level. And he is. I think that Brock Bowers safely is going to be a great player at the next level. He really feels like one of those rare prospects that is kind of like a can't miss kind of guy, really a blue chip level talent. And so for the New York Giants, they just have to decide, do they want to invest that high of a draft pick in the tight end position? That's the big question mark, especially because they do have Darren Waller on the roster. Will that deter them and say, hey, we have talent at this position already. Maybe we shouldn't invest such a high draft pick into it. It's totally possible, but kind of as we've said before, Alex, I think that there are certain players who, exceed the limitations of their position and exceed the expectations of that position, right? And create more value. I think, if you want to say tight ends aren't super valuable, tell that to Travis Kelce and tell that to George Kittle. Those guys were in the Super Bowl for a reason. They're a big part of the reason that their teams made it so far, because they provide so much value at their position, playing tight end, playing basically offensive lineman and wide receiver, doing it all. And that's what a tight end does. A tight end is supposed to be a player that does it all for your offense. And Brock Bowers can do it all. And he does all of those things a lot better than a lot of receivers do. I think that you could argue he's got better hands than a lot of receivers. He's got better route running skills than a lot of receivers. And then, of course, he's a better blocker and everything else. But the yards after the catch of Brock Bowers, it's utterly ridiculous. He's a complete package at the position. And so you said that you'd be just as excited if the Giants took him compared to Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze. I'd probably not fall into that same boat. I would feel more excited about the wide receiver. I think that wide receiver is still more valuable. So I think that it's good to kind of have, somewhat conflicting opinions here. But I by no means would be upset by Brock Bowers at 6 overall. I see the value. And there's something to be said about these teams winning these playoff games and these Super Bowls having a prolific quarterback paired with a prolific tight end. How many of them are having prolific quarterbacks paired with wide receivers? It's really quarterback and tight end is what you're seeing. Again, Brock Purdy, of course, Patrick Mahomes. If you want to go to Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady, having an elite quarterback and an elite tight end combo is arguably the better mismatch to have compared to the quarterback and wide receiver combo. So if the New York Giants want to build a Chiefs model or a Patriots model, you want to get yourself a stud tight end, and Brock Bowers could be the one to build an offense around for years and years to come. So could be a really exciting player. Really love what Brock Bowers is bringing in his skill set, and think he's going to be a top 10 or top 12 pick probably at the most, and could definitely be in the cards for the New York Giants with the number 6 overall pick in the draft. But what do you guys think about him? How are you feeling about him? Who do you want us to break down next? You want us to do Rome Odunze? Do you want us to just jump immediately into the quarterback realm? Let us know. We're excited to continue to break down all these draft prospects, free agency, all that fun stuff, all the offseason content that you need about the New York Giants right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.